This episode of the podcast is brought to you by WayForward, the publisher of Clock Tower Rewind. Run, hide, and avoid the deadly Scissor Man in this survival horror classic when the 16-bit nightmare returns. Well, today, October 29th, 2024, Clock Tower Rewind releases across all major platforms. Go play the game on your platform of choice, head to channel3.gg, find Clock Tower Rewind, and complete various activities for extra XP on the site as well. Thank you again to WayForward, our presenting sponsor for Season 10 and for this podcast. Go check out Clock Tower Rewind.
Channel 3 is the future.
Welcome, crew, to What Are Your Three, a Channel 3 podcast where normally we take a member of the Channel 3 community, discuss 3 games of their choosing, but not today. Today, we're continuing part of our Season 10 WayForward partnership. Today, we have a guest on named Jeremy Pryer. Jeremy is the Quality Assurance Manager over at WayForward. We're going to be talking about Clock Tower Rewind, one of their projects that we'll be releasing, well, frankly, pretty much as soon as y'all hear this. That will be out there for everyone in the world. But Jeremy Pryer, c3.gg/Jeremy Pryer, Pryer, just so we're clear. But he's got Jeremy Pryer pretty much locked down everywhere across platforms. So Jeremy, hello, welcome today.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Appreciate your time. Again, I'm just going to go through my WayForward spiel here. We do have c3.gg/WayForward. You can pull that up. That will pull everything WayForward, links to their official site, links to their Steam info, all of their 100-plus gameography will all be there. Any games that have a Steam page, they're directly linked there. You can take a look at our Season 10 ticket counter. We've got merchandise sponsored on there by WayForward, some digital game downloads. We're doing some drawings, all sorts of stuff there. And we've also got quests and activities throughout the season that are tied to WayForward and their games as well. So keep an eye out for that. But Jeremy, you are, as I mentioned, you're now the Quality Assurance Manager at WayForward. You've had an extensive history in the gaming industry. You go back to THQ Nordic, to 2K, to projects like Duke Nukem Forever. And I should have had my, oh, here it is. I do have it. It's close by. Now I will pop out my Duke Nukem bust from
Carpe Nukem,
whatever edition. I could probably call it like a Chew Bubblegum edition or something like that. But
I think it was the Balls of Steel edition. It's in my other room.
Yes.
I haven't even opened mine because I was like, I don't want to open it. I'll buy a second one. I never did.
Yes, it was that was it. But anyway, so you've been with WayForward for some time. You worked on a number of projects. Everything from the Shantae series, the Mighty Switch series, some of the big ones there throughout time. I think you've done everything with like the Contra Operation Galaga that was a big hit, and Advance Wars, etc. there, but pretty extensive history with the group there, right?
Yeah. I came in and just started. I think the first game I worked on a little bit was Mighty Switch Force 2. It was kind of near the end of production, and then DuckTales Remastered, and then I kind of went from QA, just standard QA, to QA lead to QA manager within like a few years, and have been on pretty much every title to some varying degree since.
You brought up DuckTales Remastered, and we did one of our WayForward quests was what your favorite WayForward game is through the course of time, and that one was obviously a highlight for people, as that was an out of the park hit as far as updating that game is concerned.
I love that game so much. It was such a fun experience, and I wish we could do more with it. Maybe someday, fingers crossed. But that was one of the first ones. I mean, it was like, I think the second game I worked on at WayForward. I was like, oh my God, I love this. I love it here. I don't want to leave.
So I have to ask, probably the most important role that I see that you've had at WayForward, and probably it really varies from the rest of the things you've done. It was probably a stretch. I'm just curious how difficult it was to play Pryer and River City Girls 2.
It was very difficult. I went in expecting to just be me, and I was told, no, be a zombie. So I had to be like, I look like much taller than I am, I feel like, but that might be because the person next to me is so short. But yeah, I had to say everything like, welcome. Like I was a Frankenstein style zombie, I feel like.
Again, forgive me if you don't feel they did. They captured you pretty well from a caricature perspective.
Oh yeah, no, they got me perfect. I specifically told them, so you see the photo of me from that?
I have seen, yes, absolutely.
I specifically told them, this is just a little bit of information, like secret information, I guess. Like we couldn't have really video game references in the shop that we were in. But I had them draw me in Chris Redfield's jacket from Resident Evil Village because I just bought that collector's edition while they were doing the artwork. I was like, I want that.
Again, it's just subtle enough that unless you say what it is, no, there's bring the lawyer. No one's gonna know. No one's gonna know. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, again, you came on as what I was told was the resident horror expert, frankly, over at WayForward. So that's part of it. But this was an opportunity for us to talk about Clock Tower Rewind, releasing October 29th. So I'm actually probably going to drop this up. Normally we do Wednesdays. I'm probably going to drop this episode early on that day. We're just going to call it that. So you're hearing it today, a surprise episode drop that Clock Tower Rewind is dropping. For those who are not familiar, this is a game that was on the Super Famicom, not the Super Nintendo. It never came here to America, the original one. We're going to talk more about the series as a whole in a little bit, but WayForward has gotten the opportunity to upgrade, update, give us that modern 16-bit, I don't know what you would call it, polish for it. But we'll talk about the series later on, but how you excited? You ready to go? It's a week away from when we're talking.
Oh, I'm incredibly excited. I am hopeful that people love it. I'm hopeful we get to do more with this brand in the future. It was it was a game that I played a long time ago just by chance and fell in love with, even though I had absolutely no idea on how to play it. It was all in Japanese. So getting to actually revisit it now and localize it and understand and see the big fan community with it, I am incredibly excited. I want to see more of these kinds of games from us.
And for anybody who doesn't know, you're basically spending half the game running from a character called Scissor Man, who is exactly what he sounds like. He is a guy carrying a giant pair of shears, which I'm going to ask this question also with just no judgment. I assume those are actual Scissor Man shears that I'm looking at behind you, or else I'm not asking from a concerned perspective. I'm a safe distance from you, so it's okay. But are you in fact Scissor Man? Is that my question? No judgment.
No, I mean, maybe for a sequel. You know what? If he had a voice, I would have fought to be the voice.
You were ready to go, hoping it was going to be the case, but kept true to things. But no, there are a giant pair of shears there, which is great for everyone to hear in an audio medium as much as we have video to look at each other. But again, just check Jeremy's Instagram. You'll see everything you see in the background there. My goodness, it's a beautiful sight to see. So
I have a few things. I just have a couple things.
Nothing. Yeah, just a couple. We're going to get into that though. There's more to come there. So again, October 29th, all the places you'll find this game. So again, if you just go to Clock Tower Rewind, you can search for it on Channel 3. You can search for it across the internet. It is popping up all over the place. It's a perfectly timed release. All too often, games and movies tend to steer away like, oh, there's too much traffic around Halloween. No, dive right in. Go right into it. Halloween week. Let's go. So we came though. As we always do, we're here to talk about 3 games of your choosing. And we're kind of going all over the place. There's a lot of horror here. And you and I were talking right beforehand about your first game you felt didn't quite fit into this, but no, I'm gonna shove this square peg in that round hole. But your first game you wanted to bring up was Max Payne 2, The Fall of Max Payne, 2003's. I always say PlayStation 2, but it was on the Xbox, it was on PC, but in my mind and heart, it was just on the PS2. I'm sorry, Xbox folks. I know there are a few of you out there. I apologize, but.
I played it on Xbox first.
Really?
I did buy it on every platform in the end, but I think it was just at that time where I had just got an Xbox. Like I got an Xbox, literally played the Buffy the Vampire Slayer game, and yeah, their exclusive Buffy game.
We're going like, deep cut off the bat. Yes.
I apologize. I get a little off topic. But I mean, then like I played Max Payne 1 obviously on PS2. So then Max Payne 2 came out. I bought it for Xbox because I felt visually on my TV the Xbox looked a little better. So I was like, let me get it, and fell in love with the game. Bought it on every platform after that. First PC game I think I bought too.
Wow, so you had something that could handle the beef at that point in time.
I honestly, I feel like it probably couldn't handle it that at that time, and I didn't get to really play it until a couple years later on PC.
Everything was bullet time on PC at that point. It was running, struggling to run. The whole thing was bullet time. It was perfect.
Yeah.
So I jokingly say, so I mean, this is a game filled with, again, the big Max Payne convention was the bullet time, but a game filled with double crosses, some time jumps. Obviously, a game that caught your attention as well. You played the first one on PS2, and so, but you didn't want to talk about the first one. You talk about the second one. Why two?
I think because Max Payne 2 was the first time, like I'd played kids or games since I was a kid. Growing up, I'd always played video games. Max Payne 2 was the first game where it felt to me more cinematic, like just in terms of the narrative. I mean, the first game is a solid game and solid story, but number 2 took every element from that first game and expanded on it and continued it, and it felt so much bigger to me than any game before that point, and that was the game that made me actually consider video games as a career path.
Really? So what had you thought up until that? But this was just the point where you said, like, I want to do this.
Yeah, I mean, like up until that point, video games were just like my entertainment. Like I work my 9 to 5 job, I get home, I play a video game. Max Payne 2 was the first time where I'm like, I want to be involved with this kind of thing. This experience and how it made me feel was unlike anything that I'd encountered up until that point.
It was, like you said, it was a very cinematic game. I think there was a very not screenplay where like you can feel the direction of it, but it was, you know, you start the game off and you're in media res. You're like half the game has happened before the point in time where you are, and then it jumps back and then you roll into like, oh wait, this is where the game started. You kind of find yourself like, oh, I'm back in the hospital, and this half a game I played before this is just, or probably more than that even, but like it's all leading up until now. It's probably like 2/3 of it, I think. But
yeah, I think so.
But yeah, it's very like you said, very cinematic, very ornate with how it's orchestrated.
Yeah, and I mean, the game does feature 2 endings. I'm sure the remake will probably do the same thing that they're working on, but I remember the original ending broke my heart, and I love it so much.
And I think were there 2 or 3, but the canon one's the harsher one, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, since that's where technically number 3 continues from.
Three starts off with the worst the worst of the endings. Just in case you felt good about Max Payne's story. No. We're here to stop that.
Yeah.
And they also made a movie which will also break your heart too if you liked it.
Yeah, there were things they could have done that might have fixed it a bit, but boy, was that a rough movie. As a fan of the series, I was baffled by how they mishandled the story.
This is an auteurist game, in my opinion. And the way I told you I was going to fit this in elsewhere because we're gonna hit on the larger Remedy universe, but this is the brainchild of Sammy Antero Jervy, aka Sam Lake, who is the creative behind the first 2 Max Paynes, Alan Wake, Quantum Break, Control, Alan Wake 2. So like this all fits there. Like I almost want to have a cup of coffee with this guy and just find out if he's okay first and foremost.
Oh man, I would love that as well. His work is some of my favorite. Like his writing, his direction, all of the projects he's been involved with, I have been in love with. But Max Payne 2 was the first one where I really just not respect it. It's just like I felt something that I never felt before.
Yeah, true. Somebody took the time to create. Somebody took the time to put it out there. So what did you do? So what was your first step then to get towards the career when you had that impact? Because there's times where you're like, I wish I could do video games, and then there's times where you're like, oh no, here you are. 2 decades later, you did it. You nailed it. You got it.
It was such random happenstance. I had a friend that I worked with at the time at Universal Studios in Hollywood. And he called me and said, "Hey, I just did an interview at THQ. They're just like 20 minutes kind of away kind of thing. And it's just like, you should do the interview too. We could get a job there together. I'm like, all right, you know what? Why not? I'll try it. And so I did the interview. I called him when they gave me the job, and he said, "Oh yeah, they offered it me too, but I passed." So it ended up only being me going there, but it worked out in the end. Like, I would not have taken that step if not for my buddy.
It was perfect timing in that case. Just
Yeah.
sometimes the right things happen at the right time. You just gotta be ready for the opportunity.
Yeah, very much so.
So your second game also prepared you for a career as a zombie hunter, I assume. It's funny because everybody is aware. They've heard me say before. We ask for the games in advance, that way we can prep and make sure we're familiar. The Resident Evil series is one I'm very familiar with, but the funny part was you wrote, we can either just talk about the original, the remake of 2002, or the franchise, and then. Here I am. I'm doing my research. I'm prepping in advance, and I pull your Instagram up, and the first shot I see is just your game room. And I said, nope, I can't restrict this guy to one game. We're gonna have to talk about the series here because you have a shrine. What would you call it? I don't know if shrine's the right term. It's basically a room dedicated to.
It is a entire room dedicated to it. I've seen people call it a shrine. Some people call it a museum. I try to really have every aspect represented that is like directly obviously related to Resident Evil, and even like indirectly. There's little hidden items, a Dead by Daylight lunchbox, because it ties back to the characters being in Dead by Daylight. Like, every little thing, doesn't matter which of the games it is. I have Umbrella Corps, I have any
Netflix series memorabilia.
There's a Netflix poster right here signed by people that worked on it.
So let's go back though. So the first Resident Evil you were in there from the beginning.
Yes, I when I was younger, I only had a Sega Genesis. Like, I didn't get a PlayStation, I didn't get an N64 at that time. I had a Sega Genesis. My cousins had the N64. They had the PlayStation. I went to their house for a weekend, and because I was a guest, I was allowed to rent 2 video games. And I blindly picked both of them based on the cover art. One being GoldenEye 007, which was a good choice, and the other one being Resident Evil.
Now, you're saying that as if it was not a good choice. I'm curious.
It was the best choice.
Okay. Good choice and best choice. Okay.
We quickly, like GoldenEye, we were allowed to, like, it was me and my 3 cousins, one being my age and 2 being younger. We were allowed to play GoldenEye together. Once we started Resident Evil, that became you two are only the oldest, me and the older are only allowed to play it when everyone else has gone to bed.
We are forcing you to play with the lights off when no one else is around. It's just the 2 of you.
Exactly.
If your relatives were smart, they'd be standing outside of the door, just scratching on the door or just pounding on things periodically to freak you out a little bit.
Yeah, that would have been good. It would have helped, given us some more nightmares.
So, was your first nightmare just the shotgun puzzle?
I definitely did become a Jill sandwich in that game the first time I played it.
Anyone who didn't is lying to you.
Yeah. I if I remember right, I think the furthest I got during that weekend at the time was up to the sharks. I think Neptune may have gotten me in the end.
So you made a good run. I was trying to figure out, like, I don't think you would have had enough time, even if you did it all weekend, but especially when you have when there's a
just
curfew
during
on the
evenings,
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're stuck. You're not getting through that then.
Yeah. So it was a few years before I got to fully finish the game, and then the sequel would come out, and I played through the sequel and the third one. And then I think it was by Code Veronica, the Code Veronica X, I should specify, was when I realized, it's like, why don't I just have all of these games? Like, I should just have them all because I've been playing them the whole time. I think it was actually, I got kind of scammed because I watched the 2002 Resident Evil movie. Being a fan of the original series, I was like, well, I'm going to watch this movie. I saw the trailer and thought, this doesn't look like Resident Evil. Now, I will say,
listen, kids, I get now you have your Detective Pikachus and Sonics and Super Mario Brothers. Like, I get, you're coming from an era where we grew up with the cocaine-driven Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh my God, yes.
Just movies where, like, film executives said, like, I don't want the nerd stuff in it. Just give me this and call it that. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, in the end, I enjoyed the movie for what it was.
Its own thing, yes.
Yeah, just based on the preview, I originally was so disappointed, but I was like, well, I have to see the movie. So I went and saw it like the opening day. And then right when I walked out of the theater, there was a Tower Records. I don't even think they exist anymore in any form, but there was a Tower Records. And I walked in and they had Code Veronica X there. And I was like, oh, I'll buy it, $60, whatever. I go to work the next day. It's a $20 game now. I was like, okay, thanks, Tower Records.
And I wonder why they're not there anymore. Who knew?
Yeah. No, that didn't work out for them. I don't know why.
So when did you finally get to fully play the game through? Was it when they remade it?
No. I did, but I got to revisit it when number 2 came out. Similar to number 1, like I didn't have a PS1 at the time. I was at a friend's house that I went to school with when the weekend number 2 came out, and we just burned through 1 and 2 back to back.
Wow, all right, that's impressive to just run through in that circumstance. So I want to call a couple things out here. One, again, the memorabilia collection is impressive. Again, take a look at the Instagram. Go. You can see on the Twitter, the Instagram, whatever. There are pictures of this shrine, and this is not like, oh, we've got a bobblehead here or like a pop figure there. This is, artisan crafted materials, real stuff that like you're not going to see elsewhere. There's props. There's all sorts of stuff. First of all, I'm concerned like you don't have like members of the original PlayStation cutscenes hostage somewhere in that collection. Okay. Just don't, just leave it there, please. I want plausible deniability. I shouldn't have even asked the question. Never mind.
I do have a lot of one-of-a-kind items. Like you mentioned, there are props. There are some really rare signed items. Literally right behind me here is a one-of-one statue of Lady Dimitrescu that I won off Twitter.
That was one of the ones that caught my eye while I was scrolling through. It's like, I've never seen, like, that's not, you go into like a GameStop or a video game store and you see like they've got the crafted resin statues and things like that. And like, I've never seen that anywhere. What? Explain.
They had a competition. I can't remember the exact number. It was when I think it was Capcom in general, when they reached a certain follower count on Twitter, they said, hey, we're doing this giveaway. It's for a statue of Lady Dimitrescu from our upcoming, I think it was upcoming at the time, Resident Evil Village. And it was made by Gecko. They make a lot of fantastic statues. No Resident Evil statues for sale yet from them, which is surprising. I think even in the terms on this statue, the implication was I was getting an exclusive, but it didn't suggest that there wouldn't be other ones later down the line of some sort. But that never happened. So as of right now, I have the one-of-one Lady Dimitrescu statue that they made for this Twitter competition.
There are dark parts of the internet that you have to keep that thing away from and keep it safe. That's all.
Trust me, I know. When the competition went out, like all it was just like, hey, just retweet this tweet and you have a chance to win it. And there were so many absurd things that I saw at that time. And then after I won it, I did see a few people that were pretty upset that I won it and they didn't. But a lot of it was from people that their retweets or comments were all very, let's say, perverse in nature at minimum. And I was like, well, I mean, they chose a winner.
No. Yeah. So how did you go from, judged the book by its cover, grabbed it in the video game rental place? Kids used to be able to rent video games places, just so we're clear, but they were everywhere. You had competing stores in towns. Like, but anyway, how did you go from like, okay, this is a blast, like my little cousins can't watch this, we're playing it after they go to bed, to the shrine?
I realized that what I was getting was a collection because like Code Veronica, obviously when I got that one, I started to go back and get all the other ones. And then it was just like little by little, it was like, there's a company called Palisades that did a bunch of figures. I started to pick those up because I would just see them and be like, oh, you know what? At the time they weren't, but now today they're rare and worth a lot of money. It was just like they're in certain stores or collectible stores and I would pick them up. And in 2004, when they were releasing the second live action movie, I said, you know what? It'd be funny because they did it with the first movie. I was like, it'd be funny if I bid on the Jill Valentine outfit when they put that up because they sell everything. And that Jill Valentine outfit is incredibly iconic to the game that it was from. and like they did a really good job matching it for that movie. I was like, it'd be funny if I bid on this. And like the bid ended before the movie officially released. So it's like, what a crazy thing to do, because I don't know if I'm even going to like it or not. Like I might not like the actress.
At the least it looked enough like the video game. That was fine.
Yeah. I mean, it worked out in that the day that it ended, I think the night before, there's a radio station, K-Rock, out here that was hosting some competition, and my buddy ended up getting tickets to see the movie the night before the contest, or like the auction ended. So I went and did get to see it, and when I saw it, and I really liked Sienna Gilroy's performance as Jill Valentine, I immediately made my bid go like higher up, just in case somebody tried to outbid me at the end. I was like, no, I want to win this now. And once I got that, I realized, okay, well now this is becoming a collection.
So what are your top 3 Resident Evil games in the series then?
Resident Evil 1, I would probably pick the remake. Resident Evil 7, which felt the closest to the original to me. Like, I love all of the games, but I would say sequel-wise, Resident Evil 7 feels more like Resident Evil 1 than any of the other ones.
Yeah, 4 changed things, right? Made it more of an action game. 7 took it back down to a haunted house game.
Yeah. And just like the progression, it kind of had a Metroidvania feel to it, even though it is very much like linear in some extent.
But and it's going to try and break your soul too. There's also that.
Oh yeah, it was also, I think, the first one since the original that made me feel uncomfortable as I was playing it, because I'd gotten past that. Like Resident Evil 2 didn't really scare me. Resident Evil 3 didn't scare me. They became fun and more like a jump scare might get you, but I never felt like intense or dread while playing it. Jack Baker walking around the house smashing walls made me feel intense. I had no idea what was coming from one scene to the next, which I appreciate.
Overlooming existential dread peppered throughout. Yeah.
Oh, the first time I play it, like the very opening scene, and you're facing off against Mia, and you lose your arm, and I think, oh my god, did they pull a Metal Gear on me? Am I dead? Am I going to be playing as somebody else this whole game? Like, I didn't know what was going to happen, and that made me feel so much more alive while playing the game.
That was number 2. Was that number 2 on the list? 1, 7. What's number 3?
This is where it gets a little tough, because I mean, I love all these games and for different reasons. I will say that obviously original Resident Evil 4 did change gaming. And I really like Resident Evil 4 Remake's version of it, even if it doesn't have the same impact the original had. But I would say that I played Resident Evil 5 more because of the co-op nature. I got to play with a lot of different people, because it continued the storyline that was left idle from Code Veronica. It had Chris Redfield come back. Jill Valentine was in it. That one has a bit more of a special place in my heart than some of the other ones.
Did you play 4 on the GameCube or wait until the exclusivity ended?
Oh, I played on the GameCube, and then I bought the PS2 one too. I bought a GameCube for Resident Evil 1 Remake. So at that point, I was all in. I mean, I have a sealed collector's edition of the GameStop 4 in my display case.
Again, I emphasize you really need to go see this stuff. All right, I'm going to ask one more question about Resident Evil as a whole. Mm-hmm. So again, this is not like, oh my god, it's like a shelf and we were calling it a room. No, it's a room. Just to be clear. And I have to ask what I hate to do top 3 twice in a row here, but I have to ask, what are the top 3 pieces in the collection?
Let me just reevaluate.
Doing a mental inventory here to consider.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a lot.
Well, the first 2 are easy for me. Like Dimitrescu's statue, that's one of one, has to be number 1, because it just
no argument.
It's single one. It's the single one. Then I would probably give it to the Resident Evil Apocalypse Jill Valentine outfit. I mean, I do obviously have the Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City Jill Valentine outfit too.
For audio purposes, he's pointing to it behind him in a 5.5 foot tall display case behind him.
So like I have a lot of different props, but because that Jill Valentine outfit was the first one I got, and it was the most like it's her iconic look, that is really high up there. And then man, it gets difficult with the third one, because there's like little things. I like they have replica. It's actually buried right now, but they have replicas of the T-Virus and Antivirus from the movies that were really, really solid, like professionally made ones they did, like a small batch of. I love them to death, but I mean, I have a GameCube signed by Shinji Mikami, like the Resident Evil 4 European GameCube signed by Shinji Mikami. I feel like that probably goes pretty high up on the list.
Easily, yeah, that deserves its spot. Again, I'm glad you said replica for the viruses. I was concerned you somehow obtained actual ones, so that's good that they're replicas.
Well, we won't know for sure until I bust one open.
Whoops, dropsies. Anything else? Just Resident Evil continues to this day. Again, a strong year last year coming off the 4 remake. Just, they continue to, Capcom quietly has just continued to do, I mean, listen, they have the occasional stuff that doesn't work, but like they just continue to put good work out there. And there are some places that get kind of ripped, and like, no, Capcom's just continuing to put steady good work out.
Yeah, no, I'm thrilled that the brand continues. I'm glad that we're getting new entries. We're getting some very solid remakes. We're getting
2 in a row possibly is like the word out there. Like that there are 2 actively developing
that is
together.
The word. That is the word. And 2 remakes and at least a new entry and probably more spin-offs as well, which I'm all for. Like even if in the end it's not for me, Umbrella Corps was not for me, I'm sure it had its group of fans, and that's fine. I'm just glad the series continues and is able to continue to make really crazy experiments and not destroy it. R.I.P. Dino Crisis.
Oh man, that's yeah. And don't give me Exoprimal either. Don't put that up there. I was trying to dance around that one when I said like not everything was a hit, but like come on, let's bring back Dino Crisis.
It's crazy that Exoprimal never got Dino Crisis DLC either, at the very least.
Moving on. All right. So your third, we're touching on. I mentioned in the opening again, Clock Tower. We're here. We're talking about that with WayForward releasing Clock Tower Rewind. But you brought up the Clock Tower series, which I'm very curious about your history with the series. For context, for folks, this was a game series that was physically painful for me to enter into Channel 3's library because you had Clock Tower, which was not released in the US. It was only Super Famicom. You had Clock Tower in the US, which was actually Clock Tower 2 over there. Then you had Clock Tower 2, The Struggle Within, which was actually Clock Tower Ghost Head over there. And then you had Clock Tower 3, which was just a dumpster fire over here. That like I don't know what to say about that one. That one was a little bit rough in the grand scheme of things, but like this is real Final Fantasy 3-6 energy. This is Dragon Quest, Dragon Warrior, like debacle as far as like conventions and what they brought over here energy goes. I think very clearly they regretted with the Resident Evilification of games. This was like the exact time Resident Evil dropped, and they regretted not bringing it over here, and they were playing catch up the whole time, and Capcom took it over, and that was one of their misses. But I do want to talk about that game. I don't know how much you go into that one, but so anyway, so how did you find your way into this series? Because you have played the original Japanese version.
Yes, I found my way in. I think, ironically, because of Clock Tower 3. Because everything kind of, for me, almost everything goes back to Resident Evil. And at the time, Resident Evil 4, the original Resident Evil 4, went through a lot of different changes. And a lot of ideas that were at one point meant for Resident Evil 4 ended up making their way into other Capcom titles, including Haunting Ground, which might or might not have at one point been Clock Tower 4.
Clock Tower adjacent, they probably said Clock Tower 3 didn't work. Change the name.
And I think some of those concepts went into Clock Tower 3. So like for me, at the time, anything that had any tangential connection, I just bought them. I was like, you know what? I'll buy it, try it out. And yeah, Clock Tower 3 was a bizarre game for when I played it, especially going in expecting a Resident Evil thing, and that's not what that is. I was curious about the series at that point, and had a friend of mine. I had a Wii. Everyone had a Wii because the Wii was popular to get at the time.
It was in every retirement home. Everybody, literally, no. This was not like, oh, everybody had a Wii. No, like everybody had a Wii. Everybody did. They issued it to you.
It was sitting gathering dust, and a friend said, "Hey, I could put Clock Tower on there for you." And I said, "Sure, why not?" and he gave me the original Clock Tower, the Super Famicom version, and put it on there, and I played it, and it was in Japanese. Boy, was it hard to understand how to get out of the first room. Um, but once I was able to, the experience was so unlike anything I ever played, and I was so upset that I'd missed it. Like that we never got to experience that when it originally happened. Because I was like, this is a horror game like on a Super Nintendo, and I can't believe that that really existed. Because I mean, there were horror games on the NES, but they weren't really scary. There was
You weren't
it
you
was
weren't
never
being
like that.
pursued. Yeah, you weren't being
Yeah.
hunted down, having to hide and figure out what to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I was throwing a rock in a weird arc. Like, there was nothing like this before, which felt very much like more of a defense and runaway kind of game, just the pursuer element of it. So managed to play that one, and then after that, I went and played the US Clock Tower or Clock Tower 2, and I didn't play Ghost Head up until what, last year? That was the first time I played Ghost Head.
I
did
do
not
have
beat
to.
Ghost Head.
I have to put some Clock Tower 3 context out there. I've prepared my apology for my comments around Clock Tower 3. Only because, like, this is just, it's bizarre to me because Kinji Fukasaku is a film director. And people are familiar with this. He was involved with Tora Tora Tora. He had Battle Royale was one of his projects. Like, he's got decades of Japanese cinema, and he directed one video game, and it was this thing that was like, we're taking parts of Clock Tower and Capcomming it up, and by Capcomming it up, I mean, like, Resident Evil was trucking along, and like you said, they took pieces of stuff that didn't make the cut, where they said Resident Evil has to change. That's how we got Resident Evil 4. It became an action game, and they said some of their scraps ended up in 3, and like, it's so weird. It's weird.
It's very weird. Yeah, I mean, there's a magical girl element of it near that like end of that game that's like, this is so bizarre. This isn't what I was expecting at all.
Which is like different from you're being chased by Michael Myers with giant scissors in what's like equivalent to a lot of you've got like your Outlasts and games like that now, where like you don't have weapons, you're not able to attack or defend. Like, you're able to run away, you were able to hide, you were able to distract. And like, somehow it led to this, and it's still just like, it's this weird narrative arc of this series. And that's what's kind of cool, just to go back and like, okay, we're taking it all away. We're going to go back and we're going to upgrade, we're going to update, we're going to localize. I love the way that WayForward's done the modern 16-bit animation, which I know, it's obviously more than 16-bit, but like the way that it gets upgraded, the animation gets so smooth, and like, it's a lot cleaner looking. It all looks very cool. So it's just cool to see, going back to this game where it was almost ahead of its time. We didn't get to get it. We were behind on all of this. What do you, just to jump into Rewind, what should people look forward to here? What's your thought on it? Because you've gotten hands on it. I've just gotten to watch videos for months.
I mean, I really hope that people enjoy the experience, that being such a unique experience. I mean, for the time it was created, very unique. But even now, like, it doesn't have a feel of a lot of the modern games. I mean, it's almost largely a silent game. Like, you're hearing just footsteps most of the game until you're being chased. Like, it's such an interesting and like scary, but not jump scary style game. It's more just the unexpected that happens. That Scissor Man can appear almost anywhere as you're playing through it. Like, you get away from him, and then he could, like, while I was playing, there were points where I'm getting video for trailers or like screenshots, and I'm just going through it, and then Scissor Man just drops down from above on me. I was like, oh, come on, man. I don't need this right now. It's just an experience quite unlike anything I've seen before. There's tons of different endings in this game. Like, I really respect the way that they let you do things in different orders and change the final outcome. I think there's like 8 or 9 endings in the game. Many of them being not great, like in terms of your fate, but it's just I hope that people enjoy this experience enough that maybe this IP comes back. Maybe we get to do something new with this brand in the future, because we did everything we could. We obviously want to keep this as faithful to the original as possible. So there is just the original ROM as it was on Super Famicom, and then our Rewind version of the ROM It's like taking because they had ports. They had a port on PlayStation 1, the first Sphere, and it had like, a new room and it had a new enemy encounter. We took all those and backported them into the Super Famicom game. So like the Rewind version has features that weren't in the original that at one point may have been planned and cut. Some stuff that was discarded from every version of the game is now back in this version. We have some quality of life improvements, ability to like rest whenever you need to. You could run upstairs, which makes the game go a bit faster, thankfully. Like a lot of little things. I will say that the Superman enemy himself is actually a much larger threat now, because turns out in the original game, there was a bug where he would just stop randomly appearing, and he would only trigger if you found him in one of his hiding spots. So like that was fixed, and now it's like he could now just appear
Bug
walking
fixed. Your
down the
life's
hall.
more miserable now, guys. Good luck.
Yeah. But for some elements are a little easier. That had to make it a little harder. He's a little bit more of a pursuer now. But yeah, and we include a new animated intro. We have some motion comics that you could unlock that are voice cast. Like, we would love to do more with this series if the opportunity presents itself. So I'm hoping people go out and play it and really enjoy it.
Did I see you have a signed copy of the original Super Famicom?
You did see that. That's crazy. Yeah, when we had one of our people on our side went out to Japan to talk to the director while we were working on this early on, and he had my copy with him because he had to scan it, like just for the museum in the game, like where you could look at stuff. We were gonna put the game cover there, and he had my copy, and he's like, "Hey, do you want me to get this signed?" I was like, "Yes." Do you even have to ask?
No, why would I want you to ruin it with a Famicom sign signature? No. No, don't do that. And you realize sarcasm doesn't work with your coworker. That'd be bad. That would not be good.
I literally, once I got that, I was so excited. I wanted to post it that day, but like we hadn't announced it yet. So it's like, I can't say anything about this. I gotta
lawyers.
Wait. But yeah, no, that was incredible.
So again, I'm just going to emphasize October 29th for Clock Tower Rewind. It's going to be all the places. The scissors are behind Jeremy right now. So if you see him coming, be afraid. That I'm just concerned. They're above the Michael Myers mask, so you won't see him coming. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Everything's cool. In true fashion for us, we do talk about a few honorable mentions. You have a few on the list. One, Finland's finest, Sam Lake. We're coming back to him. We're Alan Wake. Alan Wake made your honorable mentions.
Yes, because it is one of my favorite games. I mean, again, going back Max Payne 2, which influenced me into getting into gaming. Alan Wake being that, but more horror, less gunplay. It was like the perfect blend to me. Like I have to give Max Payne 2 the credit it deserves for getting me much more interested in gaming. But Alan Wake specifically was like, oh my God, this is like exactly what I want. And it felt like I was playing a Stephen King story in a video game form. I loved the character. I loved the narrative. It was everything I wanted. And I was so disappointed for so many years that it seemed like we weren't going to get more. Thankfully, we finally have.
The rumor had been out there for just years and years. And again, listen, they took the time they needed. That's fine.
Yeah.
But like, this was a game. How much did you know going into this game what you were looking at?
For Alan Wake, the original?
Yeah, for the original. Like, did you like, okay, I'm gonna watch every trailer I can. I want to find out what this game's about, or did you just embrace the like, I'm going in blind? Because if you go in blind, this game gets weird quick. Like, you don't know what's real, you don't know what's not, you don't know what's a flat, like, you don't know what's visions, flashbacks. Like, again, no offense, whoever makes choices for drugs, go for it. But like, this is what I assume LSD and mushrooms look like if you shake them up and mix them together.
Alan Wake, I went in at least with all the trailers that were related to like Microsoft, because that was like one of their big showcase things at the time. Yep. So like I saw all those trailers, the goofy ones where like he looked different, like he had like a scarf or something and he was running from the tornado. Gameplay wise, I didn't know anything. Like I didn't look at any gameplay footage beforehand because I was like, I trust Remedy. It was more the story hook, Remedy themselves, it being horror, those were all for me immediate. Like, oh, I need this game.
Say no more. I'm in. Yeah.
Yeah, like that was all I needed to be fully invested in it, and I was very, very happy with what the final product was in the end.
Have you branched out into the larger Remedy Control?
Oh yes,
universe?
because of Max Payne, every Remedy game that comes out, I'm just day one on. So when Control started to tie into Alan Wake, I was like, what? We're doing this? We're getting more? I was so excited. And Quantum Break, I love Quantum Break too. Like that one's not as beloved, I feel like, as others, but I had a blast playing it. I watched the TV show elements in between each one. I played it multiple times. I was like, this is a fun game. I've not been disappointed by any Remedy product since the original Max Payne, you could say.
They take a swing no matter what. Like like you said,
yeah.
You could buy season tickets to whatever Remedy does, and they will be doing. They're not going to have to do something. They're taking a swing every time.
Yeah.
So honorable mention too. You just cracked last night. Silent Hill 2's 2024 remake. You put a little dent in it last night on your Twitch again. Over there, it's Twitch Jeremy Pryer. Just again with the YER. For that, but you could take a look and see what he did some damage over there, got the pyramid head.
I did have so I mean, as being a Resident Evil collector, as you may have realized, I am friends with a Silent Hill collector. I mean, you could say frenemies. We have different tastes, but she obviously very excited about Silent Hill 2 remake. She'd played it a ton. I had been busy the past few weeks, so I hadn't had a chance. So yesterday I said, I want to play it. All I've been hearing is positive. I want to have a good time. I invited her to come in and talk with me about it as I was playing it. I mean, she spoils
talk with you about it was one way to put it, but
she spoils a few things, those Silent Hill fans. I mean, I played the original, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's okay. But it's 20 years. Yeah, we're good. It's 20 years later. Yeah.
Yeah. But I will say, like, my experience so far with the remake has been fantastic. I'm very happy with it. Like, I know there was a lot of hesitation towards it early on before it came out. So I'm happy to see a lot of positive vibes with the final product from people now.
Well, I think admittedly, even from the folks that Konami kind of subcontracted to, like, listen, we've got some weird ones in our background here, but like, give us a shot. We got this. And I'm as happy as anything. Konami remembered they have not only a video game business, but they have some great licenses through the course of history. So I'm just happy they remember they have video games. That's great to hear.
I mean, Silent Hill 2. I mean, so far what I've experienced with it, I'm enjoying. I'm really looking forward to Silent Hill F. And all we've seen is like the one trailer so far.
I couldn't even remember if we had a trailer. I know there was a still shot and like a key art but I couldn't remember what there was.
There was like a girl in a city and like the flower growing out of her face. That's all I remember from it. I think it was like an announcement trailer.
It was the same time. Like Konami just did one massive dumping of like Metal Gear this, Silent Hill that, Silent Hill 2 remakes coming, Silent Hill F. Like they say like we have video games. Like it was just all in one random day that I don't even think there had been rumors swirling for a while of this stuff in development, and then just like one day it was just like boom, here you go.
I think actually they did the Silent Hill transmission, and as they accidentally uploaded it in a way where people could just skip through it. So people were like skipping through and posting all the things that are announced like the minute after it released instead of just watching it live, if I remember right.
It's like watching the NBA draft. You just have to watch watch social media instead. You're good.
Yeah.
Have you do have to, if you have not, take a look at some of the mods. Mods can always be kind of odd, but it's hilarious to see because like the original Silent Hill games, like you had the fog because they didn't have the draw distance. Like it was just a system block. No, now you just have the fog is just there as an effect now. And I've seen people just remove the fog, first of all. I've seen people like, no, we're going to make it a sunny day in Silent Hill. Like they've done all sorts of stuff like that. That's just like stupid funny to see. I don't know if there's much more. It's not like Thomas the Tank Engine replacing a dragon in Skyrim, but it's just funny to see Silent Hill on like a bright sunny day to me.
There was Thomas the Tank Engine for Mr. X in Resident Evil 2 remake too.
Thomas ended up in a strange amount of video game mods. It's a weird piece of culture I don't understand, but whatever. It's all good.
People fear their childhood.
Hi, I'm Adnan, one of the co-hosts of Strangecast.
And I'm the other co-host of Strangecast, Adam.
Yes, this is Strangecast, Player One vs. the World's Life is Strange-centric podcast. We mainly talk about Life is Strange, but we also talk about games from Deck 9, from Square Enix, from Don't Nod, and we also bring on people from the community of Life is Strange and also developers, and including voice actors. Many of whom have won awards for their performances.
So come check us out on all major platforms, including YouTube, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Come check us out. Strangecast.
Cheers.
Well, honorable mention number 3, again, another game recently released, dropped on, I think, October 18th. The Retro Realm double feature of Halloween and Ash versus the Evil Dead. I loosely call it a 16-bit platformer because these 16-bit versions, they're always like just they give it a little extra sauce. That's all. It's in the vein of a 16-bit platformer, but like it just looks so much cooler. And they are bloody messes. There are ranges of playable characters. You've got, Halloween, you can slay the day as Michael Myers. Ash versus the Evil Dead. There are all sorts of deadites peppered throughout that thing. The boomstick looks insanely overpowered. I was just happy to see Sam Raimi's Oldsmobile, the Delta 88, even makes an appearance in there. But tell us a little bit about that one, because you had some ties with this one.
Yes, that is a WayForward developed game, or I should say games, because it is technically 2 games.
It is a double feature, 2 in 1.
Yes. Yeah, Halloween and Ash vs. Evil Dead. You could buy them both separately, or you could get the double feature and have them both. And ideally, there should be more in the future, because the concept of it is, there are arcade cabinets, so you could play individual games, so you could play Halloween, but if you own Ash vs. Evil Dead, you could also play Halloween now as Ash. You could play as Kelly if you have the Kelly Maxwell DLC. If you have Laurie Strode, you could play as Laurie Strode. You could take them all and play them in Ash vs. Evil Dead. So ideally, if more titles get added, that would still continue, whereas you'd get more characters that play slightly differently, different mechanics. Maybe some of them play drastically differently. We'll see. But yeah, being able to go through and experience each individual game with each character you own from the corresponding game.
Yeah, it's just it's a perfect intersection of just bloody violence and and action platformers. It's just fun to watch.
It does have a classic difficulty side to it as well. I mean, from what you may have seen some of it. It is a bloody hard platformer at certain points, especially near the end. And there's a challenge. Every single character has an achievement tied to beating a campaign without a single health upgrade. So good luck for everyone going for that. It is quite the challenge.
Well, to our friends over at Proven Gamer and your trophy hunting clan, good luck, guys. We wish you the best. Okay, so one thing, do you have a few minutes still? I know we're nearing the end of time. Do you have a couple minutes?
Of course, yeah, no, whenever you need.
Right. So one of the things we do on Channel 3, we have a quest every day. We have a question that we ask, and I'm pulling one from the Channel 3 history books, and I'm going to ask you, what is your favorite controller?
My favorite controller? Oof. I mean, I think my default now is the Xbox Series controller.
Oh, you're gonna have people fist bumping for that, yeah.
I will say initially, I think coming from the Xbox 360 to Xbox One, because I will say the PlayStation 2, obviously classic, everyone loves it. I liked the Duke controller for what it was on Xbox.
I have giant hands, so yeah, the Duke was fine for me.
I loved it. I didn't like their S version controller, the smaller one. And then
again, Xbox giant hands, that one did not work out for me.
Xbox 360 kind of became the default for me because PS 3s, I didn't really like the backing on it as much. How its backing was, and also the 6-axis. I wasn't huge on that. I mean, I do love PS5's DualSense and haptics and everything, but Xbox 360, Xbox One, initially, I was holding the Xbox One controller like it was a 360 controller and hurting my own hands because I didn't realize how slightly different they were, to the point where I was like, why are my hands getting sore? And I was like, okay, I'm holding it wrong. Eventually I got used to the Xbox One, so now it's just like my de facto is Xbox One/Series. I would say the Pro controller, but like I loved what do they call it? The Elite controller, because it mechanically it has a lot of cool features on it. Oh, actually, I have it right here, but my right bumper stopped working, and my understanding is that happens to a lot of people with the Elite controllers, and that's kind of a bummer. So now it's just like
that's silly for spending a couple $100 and like you can't give me the bumper that works. Come on, guys.
Like legitimately, that now I still keep the controller active just so I'm not using batteries when I'm watching something. Like it's just for like it's my remote control at this point. And then I switch to a standard controller when I'm playing a game.
I have to ask a question. Just have you used the chainsaw controller? Because I assume it's somewhere. It's got to be in the collection. You probably have like 3 of them in the collection. I probably should like 2 of them sealed, 1 of them graded, and and like 1 for use is probably in there.
So there are 2 official ones that exist, and then 1 that was never finished licensed. That one I did not get, unfortunately. I do have the GameCube controller and the PlayStation 2 controller, both sealed in box. I wasn't even thinking about multiple consoles. I didn't even think about that. Oh my god.
Yeah. I'm referring for anybody who's not aware. When Resident Evil 4 came out, they created a chainsaw controller for each system. Apparently, I didn't even really even think about that.
My favorite element of that was when I first bought the controller. I think it might have been the PS2 one at the time. I was at a GameStop, or it might have been EB Games. I don't want to discredit which.
Yeah, whichever. You can say Funko Land for all I care. Yeah, it's whatever the gaming chain was at the time.
Well, it was funny. I was waiting in line to pick it up, and a person in front of me was with their parent, and the parent was asking about the controller, and the person at the register said, "Oh yeah, you get the controller, and then you get to play with a chainsaw in the game." And I'm just like, "That's not true. That's not true." But okay. Oh boy.
Yeah, it's tough. You gotta just take an L sometimes and move on. Yeah. Well, Jeremy, first of all, my thanks again. If you go to c3.gg/Jeremy Pryer, all of his links are everywhere, but it's just Jeremy Pryer across the board. So you can find it easily. Again, keep it on the Twitch. There's some entertaining stuff popping. Are you, I guess this will be a week from now, but I'm sure keep an eye out. You're probably running something on there. Amusing folks.
I mean, yeah, I will say for anyone that does follow me, and this includes you, you will probably regularly see me posting some new Resident Evil merch. I have 5 things right now backlogged. I just haven't posted yet.
he's got them in the hopper ready to go.
Yeah.
But yes, Jeremy Pryer across platform. Reminder, c3.gg/WayForward. That will take you to all things WayForward. Their 100+ game gameography, links to their Steam pages. You can find quests that we have for WayForward activities, get some XP. Go check the ticket counter. We've got prizes there as well. So keep an eye out on that. Keep an eye out for Clock Tower Rewind, which again, this episode will actually be a Tuesday episode. I'm saying it now, even though it will be in the future, but this will be a strange, not Wednesday episode, but a Tuesday episode. So it's out now. It's out all the places. We will have quests for doing some of the activities in the game. We'll tie it to we've got direct tie-ins for the achievements to Steam, but no matter what you play it on, if you do that, you can come complete it there and fill it out. The Steam will just help auto-populate for you. But again, keep an eye out because we will have Clock Tower Rewind activities available for you. The game is out now. It's all the places. Go check it out. My shout out to Ray. Normally I've got a co-host, but the recording time did not work out for him. So Ray, we're still thinking of you, bud. You're here in my heart. But again, so I have to do the closing part's always his part. So this is where it just gets really ugly. So you can find our podcast, c3.gg/podcast. We're all the places. We're Spotify, YouTube Music, Apple. Normally it's Wednesday mornings at 3:33 a.m., but today it's a Tuesday. But it's all going to work out. It's fine. Executive producer Joel Willis. Our theme song, Caster Garden, c3.gg/Caster Garden. He's got his music out there. Go check it out. He's also got a music pack out there for indie developers as well. So check it out. But again, Jeremy Pryer, thank you for your time. WayForward, Clock Tower Rewind. It's all there. And have a good day, everybody. See, I can land the plane, Ray. I can land the plane.